Dear learner, I welcome you all. Myself, Dr. Sanjay Agrawal, Associate Professor, Electrical Engineering, School of Engineering and Technology, Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi. Dear learner, today I am going to discuss topic construction and working principle of DC machines. So as you know, there are different type of machines. It can be broadly classified as static machine and dynamic machine. Under static machine, you have already discussed the transformer, and under dynamic machine or rotating machine, there are different machine comes which can again be classified as AC machine and DC machine. In AC machine, there are different type of machines like three-phase induction motor, single-phase induction motor, synchronous motor, and under DC machines, DC machine can again be classified as DC motor and DC generator. So today I am going to discuss the DC machines. So first of all, we have to understand what is the need of DC machine. As you know, battery is an important source of DC electric power, but it can supply a limited DC power. But there are some applications where large quantity of DC power is required. For example, electroplating, electrolysis, and at such cases DC generator are used to deliver power, because battery have some capacity which cannot generate the more DC power. So to get the more DC power, you require a DC generator. And it has been seen that AC motor are mostly applied in the industry for the conversion of electrical power into mechanical power. However, at the places where wide range of speed control and good speed regulations are required, such as an electric traction, in that case DC motor have to be applied, because what is the beauty of the DC motor? You can control the speed of the DC motor very smoothly, and you can also control the speed regulation of DC machine. In short, we can say that DC machine have their own role in the field of the engineering. So today is our main focus on the DC machine. As I already told you that DC machine can be classified as DC generator and DC motor. So as you know, all the rotating electrical machines are the electromechanical energy conversion devices. What do you mean by this mechanical energy conversion system? So here you can see that this system is, suppose I am saying this is a electromechanical energy conversion system. So you can say electrical mechanical energy conversion system is a system in which mechanical energy can be converted into electrical energy, or in reverse you can say electrical energy can be converted into mechanical energy. Then this system will be called electromechanical energy conversion system. Now under the DC machine, first of all we are going to discuss the generator, or you can say DC generator. So depending upon the conversion of energy from one form to the other, the electromechanical device can be named as generator or motor. So an electromechanical device that converts mechanical energy or power into electrical energy or power is called generator. So what happens in the generator? Just you are giving us some mechanical energy, and this mechanical energy is being converted into electrical energy. What do you mean by this? You have a generator. Now what you have to do? You have to rotate the rotor of the generator, and that means you have to rotate the rotor of the generator. That means you need some mechanical energy. And what is that mechanical energy? Mechanical energy means movement of that shaft of the rotor. So that shaft can be rotated with help of the turbine. That turbine may be the steam turbine. So that means that mechanical power is coming from the steam. If that power, that shaft of the rotor is being rotated with the help of the mechanical energy coming from some another source. So on the basis of the different source, the different generator may be classified like thermal power plant based generator, hydropower plant generator. In hydropower plant generator, what happens? The turbine of the generator is moved with the help of the that hydropower of that water which which is responsible to rotate the move the rotate of the generator, by which you are able to convert mechanical energy into electrical energy. So as I told you that generator are used in hydro power plant, steam power plant, diesel power plant, nuclear power plant, and generator are also used in the automobiles. So in this power plant, various natural source of energy are first converted into mechanical energy, as I already told you, and then it is converted into electrical energy with help of the generator. So in the generator, what you need? You needed some motion, because as per the Faraday law, if there is rate of change of flux is there, that means it will generate some EMF. So what you have to do? Suppose there is just some magnet, right, north pole and south pole, and in that there is just some conductor. If you are able to move this conductor, that means you are able to generate the electric potential, or you can say EMF. So as per Faraday law, E is equal to what? E is nothing but it is d phi over dt. That means rate of change of flux is needed to generate the induced EMF. Now, as I already told you that generator is the system or device in which mechanical energy is being converted into electrical energy, that is called generator. Now in case of motor, what happens? Suppose this one is a motor, so just you will give as a input as a electrical energy, and this electrical energy will be converted into mechanical energy, then it will be called as a motor. So a electromechanical device or electrical machine that converts electrical energy or power into mechanical energy or power is called motor. So this is a basic difference between generator and motor. Mechanism is the same. That means both generator and motor are the electromechanical energy conversion machine. Now we have to understand where this electrical motor can be used. This electrical motor can be used in the driving industrial machines. It can also be used for the domestic appliances. So under driving industrial machines, this electric motor can be used for the hammer presses, drilling machines, lathe machine, shapers, blowers for the furnace, etc. And this electrical motor, or you can say this DC motor, can also be used in the domestic appliances, for example refrigerator, fans, water pumps, toys, mixer. So these all are the application of the electric motor. Now we are going to discuss the construction of the DC machine. So here you can see that both the DC generator and DC motor is basically called DC machine. So our DC machine basically has four important part which can be classified as field system, armature, commutator, and carbon brushes. So here you can see in this diagram, so this outer part is basically called magnetic frame or yoke. This one is called pole. So here you can see there is a 4-pole, north pole, south pole, north pole, south pole. So basically this DC machine is a 4-pole DC machine, and here this one is a pole shoe. So these poles are used to place the field winding, where you are able to generate this magnetic flux, because under the magnetic flux rotator is to move, and due to movement of that motor there will be a rate of change of flux, and if there is a rate of change of flux, then it will induce EMF. So this one is a pole, and between these two poles you can see this is called interpoles, and this one is a commutator from where you can extract the wire from where you will get the electric supply, but in case of DC motor you will give this electrical supply with help of the commutator. And this one is a armature. This circular part is basically called armature, and this will have armature commutator. This one is a shaft. on the shaft this armature conductor moves. Now one by one we will discuss the different part of the DC machine. So first one is a field system, how this magnetic flux is induced in case of DC machine. So here you can see this one is a yoke, as I already told you, and this is a pole. Over the pole there is a field winding. Here you can see this one is a field winding. This dot is showing that direction of the current which is inside, and this cross is showing that means current is coming outside. So suppose this one is a pole, just you have to place the binding in the coil form, just you make the different turns of the coil, so it will form, there is a north pole, and just opposite of the north pole, or you can say just next to north pole there is a south pole, and just next to south there is a north pole. So there is a 4 pole DC machines is here. So in DC machine the field magnet provide uniform magnetic field surrounding the armature. Generally the electromagnet are preferred in DC machines in place of permanent magnet. Why electromagnets are preferred? Because with help of the electromagnet you can produce more powerful electromagnetic field, because whatever the induced EMF induced, it is directly proportional to the flux. And what is that flux? That flux is being produced with help of the magnetic field. So if you are using the permanent magnet, so it will not be able to generate the more flux. If it is not able to generate the more flux, that means whatever the magnetic field is there, it is a weak. So if there is a weak magnetic field, so it will generate less induced EMF. That's why electromagnet are preferred in DC machine in comparison to the permanent magnet. The field magnet consists of different part. Basically first one is called yoke or frame. So outer part is called yoke, or you can say frame. Second one is pole core. So this is called pole core, and this one is a pole shoe. So this, suppose this is a pole core, this one is a pole core, and this one is a pole shoe. So here you can see this one is showing. So here just you have to place the binding, and this will support the binding which will not get down. So this is called pole core, and this one is called pole shoe. So here you can see that this is a pole and this one is a pole shoe. So field magnet consists of different part, you can say the yoke or frame, pole core and pole shoe, and magnetic coils. Now we have to understand what is a magnetic frame or yoke. The outer cylindrical frame to which main poles and interpoles are fixed, and by means of which the machine is fixed to the foundation, is called yoke. Now we have to understand what is the function of this magnetic frame or yoke. Basically magnetic frame or yoke serves the two purposes. First one is it provides mechanical protection to the inner parts of the machine. So because this is cylindrical shape outer form, so whatever the binding is placed inside. So here you can say this is a cover. So it provides the mechanical protection to the inner parts of the machine. Second function of magnetic frame or yoke is it provides a low reluctance path between the magnetic flux. Because suppose there is because you need a stator, you need a rotor. So if there is a space between stator and rotor, so this flux will be transferred from stator to rotor. So it will produce some reluctance. So reluctance can be understood just like a resistance. If anything is opposing to the magnetic flux, that will be called reluctance. Like in case of the electrical, if anything is opposing to the flow of the electrical current, that is called resistance. So magnetic frame or yoke provides a low reluctance path for the magnetic flux. Now we have to understand what are the magnetic material used to make this magnetic frame or yoke. The yoke is made of cast iron for the smaller machines, and for the larger machine it is made of cast steel or fabricated rolled steel, since these materials have better magnetic properties as compared to the cast iron. Now we are going to discuss pole core and pole shoe. The pole core and pole shoe are fixed to the magnetic frame or yoke. Like suppose this one is a yoke and this one is a yoke. So pole core is just fit it with help of the screw jack mechanism. It is placed by, you can tight with help the screw, and the pole shoe is fixed to the pole core. So here you can see this one, this one is a pole core, this part, and this one is a pole shoe. So binding will be placed on the pole core. So function of the pole core and pole shoe is what? They support the field or exciting coil, because whatever the magnetic field is being produced, it is also called exciting coil. Because if there is no flux, so there will be because if there is no flux, so it will not generate rate of change of flux. If there is no rate of change of flux, that means it will not generate any EMF. And second function of pole core and pole shoe is what? They spread out the magnetic flux over the armature periphery more uniformly. Since pole shoe have the large cross sectional, so the reluctance of magnetic path is reduced. So this is all about the function of pole core and pole shoe. Now we have to understand what is the material used to make this laminated pole core or laminated pole shoe. The pole core and pole shoes are made of thin cast steel or wrought iron laminations that are riveted together under hydraulic pressure. Now we have to understand why this magnetic magnetic pole core are laminated. This lamination are done to reduce the power loss due to the eddy current losses. Now we have to understand magnetic coils or field, or you can say exciting coil. So here you can see this outer part is a yoke, or you can say a magnetic frame, where this one is a pole core, this one is a pole shoe. This violet color is basically, it is a rotor, this one is a shaft. So to generate the magnetic field, field binding are placed on the pole core and armature conductor are placed on the rotor. So to set up the flux in the magnetic circuit of DC machine, the magnetomotive force, or you can say MMF, is required. A electromagnet is formed by field or magnetic coil which are supported by the pole core. The magnetic flux produced, that is MMF, is developed in these magnetic coils. So whatever the magnetomotive force, or you can say magnetic flux is being produced, it is due to this field binding only. When DC is passed through the field binding, it magnetizes the pole that produces the required flux. The field coil of all the poles are connected in series in such a way that when current flows through them, the adjacent pole attain opposite polarity. What is the meaning of this? Means it is made like this. Suppose this one is north pole, so just adjacent to the north pole there should be the south pole. In series field machines, the field coil is made of thick wire of copper with less turn. Reason is what? If it is because DC machine or DC generator or DC motor can again be classified as DC series motor or DC shunt motor. So in case of DC series machine, so whatever the field coil is made, it should be of thick wire. Why it is of thick wire? Because reason is whatever the current is being flown through the field binding, it should be the more. So if it is a thick conductor, that means you can understand like this. If you want to make flow more current, that means this resistance of that particular coil should be less, because I is equal to what? I is equal to voltage divided by resistance, right? And resistance is directly inversely proportional to area of that conductor. That means R is proportional to rho L upon A, right? So if this conductor is thick, that means diameter is more. If diameter is more, that means resistance is less. If resistance is less, that means current is more. So that's why in series field binding, the field coil is made of thick wire with less turns. Why less turn? Less turn means what? If number of turns are less, that means length of the conductor is less. If length of the conductor is less, that means resistance of that conductor is less, because R is directly proportional to the length of the conductor. R is equal to rho L upon A. So If n is less, length is less. If length is less, resistance is less. If resistance is less, that means current is more. For shunt field coil, many turns of the fine wire are used. It is just opposite, because in the shunt field winding, what happens? The shunt field winding is just connected across the armature. So our aim is what? Our aim is to extract the more current from the armature. So if this resistance of the field winding is more, so if this current is coming from the armature, less current should flow through the field winding. So maximum current should come to the terminal. That's why in case of shunt field winding, resistance of shunt field winding should be more. So to keep the resistance of the shunt field winding more, that means you can use the thin wire and you can use the more number of turns of that particular field winding. After proper binding of the coils, these are dipped in the insulating varnish to provide mechanical strength and better insulating properties. Now we have discussed the stator part, or you can say we have discussed this yoke and magnetic frame. Now we are going to discuss armature. Here you can see this one is a armature. So armature core is basically a cylindrical shape. Here you can see this one is a cylindrical shape. This you can see here also. And keyed to the rotating shaft. At the outer periphery, slots are cut as shown in the figure. Here you can see this one is a cut. This cut. You can see also in this orthographic view. This one cut. And in this cut, this conductor are placed. This is called armature conductor. Here you can see. The armature core serves the following purpose. First, it houses the conductor in the slot. That means you have to put the conductor. Where will you put the conductor? It would be placed in these slots of the armature. Second purpose of this armature is what? It provides an easy path for the magnetic flux. Here you can see this one is also laminated. Why it is laminated? Because in case of armature, again there is a eddy current losses. So to reduce the eddy current losses, this core is basically laminated. Since armature is a rotating part of the machine, reversal of the flux takes place in the core. If there is a reversal of the flux of the core, that means there is a hysteresis losses. So to reduce the hysteresis losses, what you have to do? You have to use silicon steel material. The rotating armature cuts across the magnetic field that induces an EMF in it. This EMF circulates the eddy current that results in a eddy current losses. So to reduce these losses, armature core is laminated, as I already told you. In other words, we can say that about 0.3 to 0.5 mm thick stamping are used for its construction. Each laminations or stamping is insulated from each other by the varnish layer. Now we have to understand armature binding. So this armature binding are placed in the slots of the armature. The insulated conductor housed in the armature slots are suitably connected. This is known as armature binding. The armature binding is the heart of DC machines, right? Because this is the main part of the DC machine where it will be responsible to generate the EMF, or it will be responsible to produce the torque. It is a place where conversion of the power takes place. That is, in case of the generator, mechanical power is converted into electrical power, while in case of the motor, the electrical power is converted into mechanical power. So this armature binding can again be classified as lap binding and wave binding. In case of lap binding, the conductor are connected in such a way that number of parallel paths are equal to the number of poles. Like suppose we are discussing about this 4-pole DC machine. So in case of 4-pole DC machine, the number of parallel path will be the 4. So if machine has, you can say, P number of poles, either P may be the 2 or 4 or maybe 6, and Z number of armature conductor, then there will be a P parallel path, and each path will have Z upon P conductor in the series. Like suppose there is a 1000 conductor and 4 number of poles are there. So 1000 divided by 4, So it comes 250. So each path will have 250 conductor in series. In this case, the number of brushes is equal to the number of parallel path, out of which half of the brushes are positive and remaining half are the negative. So this is all about the lap binding. Now we have to understand the wave binding. In wave binding, the conductors are so connected that they are divided into two parallel paths, irrespective of the number of poles of the machines. Suppose any machines has Z number of armature conductor, so there will be only two parallel paths and each will have Z upon 2 conductor in series. So as I told you that in case of the lap binding, there was a 1000 armature conductor and there was a 4-pole machine. So each path will have the 250 conductor, but in case of the wave binding, what will happen? Because Z is a 1000 and it will be divided by 2, so here each path will have 500 conductor in series. So in this case, number of brushes is equal to 2, that is number of the parallel path. Now we have to understand what is the function of the commutator, right? So here you can see this one is basically called commutator. So commutator is an essential part of the DC machine, whether it is a DC generator or DC motor. This commutator is placed between the armature and the external circuit. So this will be a link between the external circuit and that rotor. So it has cylindrical shape and approximately the same diameter as the armature, because this commutator will rotate in the armature. So here you can see this is a slotted armature. This one is a mica which will insulate between commutator and armature, and this one is a shaft on which this commutator and armature will rotate. The winding ends of the armature are directly soldered to the commutator segment. The armature coils are connected with the commutator, which in turn gets connected to the external circuit through carbon braces sliding on commutator. Now we have to understand what is the function of the commutator. Here you can see this one is a armature, this one is a commutator, and over commutator there is a brushes are placed, and from the brushes you can extract the wire, and this one is a stator. So function of commutator is what? It completes electrical circuit by connecting rotating armature coils and stationary electrical circuit. In generating action, what happens? It works as a rectifier, because in case of DC motor, what supply do you need? You are giving the DC power. So in case of DC, what will happen? It will work as a rectifier which convert generated AC voltage into DC voltage in case of the DC generator. But in case of DC motor, what happens? It reverses the direction of the DC current to maintain the torque in same direction. So you can say this commutator work as a rectifier also. Now we have to understand what is the material that is used to make the commutator. Commutator is made of the large number of the edge-shaped segment of hard drawn copper. Here you can see this is a commutator and it is made of the basically copper, and the segment are insulated from each other by the thin layer of the mica. Here you can see this one is a mica are used. So this mica insulate each segment of the commutator. Now, as I told you that over the commutator brushes are placed, and these brushes will be in basically this commutator will move and brushes will always be touch, right? So from the brushes you can extract the wire. So what is the function of brushes? The brushes are pressed upon the commutator, like suppose this commutator is moving and this one is a brushes. You can say this is a brush. So just this commutator is moving, but this the place of this brushes is fixed. So of course there will be some friction between the brushes and the commutator. So brushes are pressed upon the commutator and form the connecting link between the armature binding and the external circuit. The brushes are held in particular position around the commutator by the brush holder and rocker. Here you can see this one is a basically brushes and this is pressed, this one, and you know that brushes are made of the carbon. So they are usually made of high grained carbon, because carbon is also a good conductor, because carbon is a conducting material, and the same time in powdered form it provides the imbricating effect on the commutator surface. So, or another word you can say, carbon have some lubricating property also, because commutator is moving and this brushes is touching. So if it doesn't have lubricating property, so there will be some chances of the spark. So to overcome the chances of the spark, these brushes are made of the carbon. Now we have to understand what is the function of this brush rocker. Brush rocker holds the spindles of the brush holders. It is fitted on the stationary frame of the machine with the nut and bolts. By adjusting its position, the position of the brushes over the commutator can be adjusted to minimize the sparking of the brushes. So the main disadvantage that may happen in case of the brushes, that is a sparking. So proper adjustment is very much necessary to overcome the problem of the sparking in case of DC machine. Now we have to understand what is the function of end housing. End housing are attached to the ends of the main frame and support the bearing. The front housing support the bearing and the brush assemblies, whereas the rear housing usually support the bearing only. Now, as I already told you that bearing are also used in the DC machine, because on the bearing this shaft will move. So we have to understand what is the function of the bearing. The ball or the roller bearing are fitted in the end housing. The function of bearing is to reduce friction between the rotating and the stationary part of the machines. Mostly high carbon steel is used for the construction of the bearing, as it is very hard material. Now there is another part of the DC machine which is the most important part, that is called shaft, because there is a shaft on which this rotor or you can say armature moves. The shaft is made of mild steel with maximum braking strength. The shaft is used to transfer mechanical power from or to the machine. The rotating parts such as armature core, commutator and cooling fan are key to the shaft. That means it should have high mechanical property also, because whole weight of the armature and the commutator will go on the shaft only. Now we have to understand the working principle of DC generator. So as I already told you that DC generator works on the principle of the Faraday law of electromagnetic induction. So whenever conductor is placed in the bearing or you can say rotating magnetic field, it will induce an induced EMF. So here you can understand. So here you can see this is a one magnet. You can say this is north magnet and this is a south magnet. So if there is a magnet, so this is a, you can say this is electromagnet or it may be the permanent magnet. If there is a magnet, so this magnet will induce some flux or you can say it will have some magnetic field, and this direction of the flux has been shown by this arrow. So flux, the direction of magnetic flux from north to south, right? Now this is a stationary magnetic field. It is not of rotating of nature. Now here you can see this one is a conductor. This is a, just I am taking a one coil for the to make you understand. This you can say this is a conductor, and this conductor is moving because this is stationary magnetic field from the north pole and the south pole. If like you can understand, like this one is a coil and this one is a north pole, this one is a south pole. So between this north pole and south pole, this conductor will move. As this conductor will move, so you can say there will be some relative motion between the magnetic flux and between the motion of the rotor. if this armature is fixed, that means there is a no rate of change of flux. If there is a no rate of change of flux, so of course there will be no EMF will be produced, because E is equal to what? E is what? E is EMF, or you can say electromagnetic force. E is directly proportional to d phi over dt. So to get the any induced EMF, you need to get rate of change of flux. So this flux is getting from the north pole and south pole, and this conductor is moved by any means, then you can generate the induced EMF. And how this conductor can be moved? Just you connect with the help of the turbine. In case of the thermal power plant or in any hydropower plant, this armature is being rotated with help of the turbine, right? So if you are able to move the armature in the magnetic field, it will induce EMF. And how much EMF will be induced, it will depend on there are different parameters. It depends on the number of poles, it depends on the strength of the flux, it will depend on the numbers of the coil. So E is equal to what? E is equal to P phi N. P is what? P is the number of the pole. And phi is what? Phi is the flux per pole. And N is the at which speed it is rotating under the magnetic field. And it will also depend on the number of the armature conductor. It will also depend on the number of the parallel path. So now you want to see what is the direction of this induced EMF. So this direction of the induced EMF can be checked with help of the Fleming right hand rule. So here you can see this is a right hand rule. We can understand like just you take like this. This thumb will show the motion of the conductor. This first finger will show the magnetic field, and this finger will show the direction of the current, right? So just you have to apply the right hand rule in this particular circuit. So here you can see this direction of the magnetic field from north pole to south pole like this. So this finger is showing basically direction of the magnetic field, and here you can see this conductor is moving like this. That means suppose this conductor is this one and this conductor is moving this one. That means force is coming from down to upward. So this conductor is moving like this. So here you can just apply the Fleming right hand rule. Here you can see this is a magnetic field, right? Now conductor is moving this one upside. So you can put this way. So this finger is a magnetic field. This thumb is showing the conductor, means conductor is going upward. So this thumb is showing the direction of the conductor. So this middle finger will show the direction of the current. So here you can see that this force is from down to upward, a magnetic field from this to this direction. So direction of the current is from C to D in this side. Now if you are talking about this conductor, so here you can see, because if conductor is moving this way, that means force is coming this way, and here conductor is going this way, so that means force is coming from upward to downwards. That means direction of the conductor is from top to bottom. So just you have to apply the Fleming right hand rule in this way. This finger will show the direction of the magnetic field because it is a fixed north pole and south pole, and this one is a direction of the thumb, that is will show the direction of the conductor. So this finger will show the direction of the current produced in the coil. So here you can see this is the direction of the magnetic field, and direction of the movement of the conductor from top to lower. So direction of the current is what? It is from A to V. So this is how you can apply the Fleming right hand rule to get the direction of the current. And with the help of this split ring and this braces or slip, you can collect the current, or you can say EMF. So here you can say this is a split ring and this is a carbon brushes, and this carbon brushes are connected to the external load, and you can collect the current. So this is the working principle of the DC generator. So here we can conclude that to get the electromagnetic EMF, you need rate of change of flux rate of change of flux. Now we have to understand the EMF equation of the DC generator. So as I already told you that induced EMF in a conductor is directly proportional to the rate of change of flux linked with conductor. So E is equal to what? E is equal to d phi over dt. So just you consider the different parameter like P is the number of poles, N is the speed of rotation in the armature in the RPM, Z is the total number of armature conductor, phi is the flux per pole in a Weber, and A is the number of parallel path of the armature conductor, right? So because phi is the flux per pole and there is a P number of poles, so total flux linked with the conductor in one revolution is equal to what? Flux per pole multiplied by the number of poles. So it is equal to phi into P. And do you know time taken in one revolution is equal to what? 60 upon N. Why? Because N is in RPM. So if you want to calculate time taken in one revolution, it comes 60 upon N second. Now as you know that as per the Faraday law, E is equal to d phi over dt. So just you differentiate this total flux with respect to the time. So total flux is what? P into phi, and time is what? 60 upon N. So it will be E is equal to what? P phi N upon 60. Now average EMF induced in DC machine is always equal to EMF across each parallel path. So average EMF across each parallel path is equal to what? E can be written as EMF induced per conductor in one revolution multiplied by number of conductor in parallel path. So EMF induced per conductor in one revolution is equal to what? That is P phi N upon 60, and number of conductor in parallel path is what? That is Z upon A. So E equal to what? E is equal to P phi N upon 60 into Z upon A. So here total number of parallel path depends on the type of the armature binding. As I already told you that armature binding is of two types, lap binding and wave binding. So in case of wave binding, the number of parallel path is equal to what? That is 2, and in case of the lap binding, A equal to P. So if you are interested to calculate the induced EMF, so you must know what type of binding is being used in any particular DC machine, whether you are using the lap binding or you are using the wave binding. So in case of generated EMF, this, because if you are talking about the equation for the DC generator, so there you can write that is E is equal to this one. If you are talking about the motor, because in case of the motor some EMF will be induced, that will be called the back EMF. So it can be denoted as E suffix B. So this is a general formula, E is equal to P phi N upon 60 into Z upon A. Here you can see that once the motor is designed, that means number of pole is fixed. This N may be the fixed because it depends on the how much, at which speed it is being rotated. So which quantity is fixed? This P is fixed, number of poles. This Z armature conductor, once the motor is designed or DC machine is designed, so armature conductor is fixed, and binding is also fixed, whether you are using the lap binding and wave binding. Once the motor is designed, you cannot change the lap binding into wave binding. So this P is fixed, Z is fixed, number of parallel path is fixed, 60 is constant. So whole this quantity can be replaced by as K. So you can write E is directly proportional to phi N, where N is equal to what? N can be written in terms of the omega, because omega is equal to 2 pi N upon 60. So you can write E is directly proportional to phi into omega, where phi is a flux per pole and omega is a angular speed. So we conclude that induced EMF is directly proportional to flux per pole and speed. The polarity of induced EMF depends upon the direction of the magnetic field and the direction of the rotation. If either of two is reversed, the polarity of induced EMF, that is brushes, is reversed. When both are reversed, the polarity does not change. So here just we are taking some two examples very quickly. Here you can see a 4-pole lap bound armature has 144 slots with 2 coil sides per slot, where each coil has 2 turns. if flux per pole is a 20 milliweber and the armature rotates at 720 rpm, you have to find the induced EMF across the armature and across each parallel path. So you have a very familiar formula, EZ is equal to P phi N62 Z upon A, and here you can see it, you have to find out the total number of conductor, because number of slot 144 with 2 coil side per slot and each coil has 2 turn. So Z is equal to what? 144 into 2 into 2, that is 576. Number of parallel path is given, because it is a lap bonding, so A is equal to P, phi is given, that is a 20 milliweber. So you have all the parameter here, just put the value, then and after the solving you will be able to calculate the induced EMF, that come 138.24. So voltage across each parallel path is equal to what? 138.4 volt. Now dear learner, so this is all about the DC machine that we have discussed the construction part, and we have also discussed the working principle of the DC machine. Dear learner, I am going to offer that is a course Principle of Electrical Science through the SWAYAM platform. This comprehensive course on the Principle of Electrical Science is mainly for the undergraduate first year engineering student or diploma engineering student or any 12th pass student with background of the physics, chemistry and mathematics can join this course. This course will cover all the machine, whether it is AC machine or DC machine. That means this course will cover DC machine, induction machine, synchronous machine, single phase induction motor, and we will also discuss here the some electrical installation. Under the electrical installation, how the house wiring can be done, and what is the function of the fuse, what is the function of the MCB, and we will also discuss what is the function of the battery, how the capacity of the battery can be increased. So if anybody is interested, you can join this course, and for joining the course just you have to go through the swayam.gov.in, and then you select the logo of the IGNOU and you click the IGNOU, then you will find the different courses are there, and under that course you can search the course that is a Principle of Electrical Science, and you can join this very interesting course. Thank you very much.